Welcome to our mining and quarry operations management solution in Odoo developed by Probius Consulting Private Limited. Let's see how it will work. This solution is basically work for the mining industry as well as the quarrying industry. The mining and quarry businesses are industries that extract the natural resources from the earth for construction, manufacturing, energy and industrial use. Mining, we can use the solution for extraction of the minerals, metals, coal, gold, copper. As well, we can also quarrying use for extraction of the construction materials like stones, marbles, granite, sands and gypsums and many others. Let's see how it will work in Odoo with the customized module of the Probius. We'll go ahead with the workflow. Before that, we have the separate module, mineral engineering process. Before we go through the process, let's see how it will work in the Odoo. Now we have the end-to-end workflow which we developed. There is the three phases. One is the tender and commercial proposal, another is the project execution, manufacturing and processing, billing and payment, and management and analysis. Now let's see how it will work. One by one we will see all the processes. Lead will be generated. After the lead we will create the estimation for the budgeting purposes. Once the budget is done, we will go with the lab testing. Then we'll go to the inspection. After the inspection process, we will do the documentation and compliances. Then it will be go with the quotation and sales order phases. Once the sales order is confirmed, now the next stage is the project execution. Under the project execution, we will create the project job cost sheets, that is basically for the plan versus actual material mapping, used for the analysis of material cost, labor and equipment utilization. We'll do the material requisition and then we'll go ahead with the our mineral engineering process, procurement, inventory and job order execution. Now here we will create the mining records also, and then we'll go ahead with the manufacturing process. Once we receive the raw material, we'll go ahead with the manufacturing process to produce the end product. Now here we have the quality check, fleet transport. After that, production is done, we'll go ahead with the transport, dispatch, delivery, and then it will go to the next stage, billing and payment. Under the billing and payment, we are managing the IPC, interim payment certificate. If your project belongs to the long-term project, in this case you can go ahead with the IPC. We have the invoice and then payment. Management analysis, you can use the Odoo default reports already available. As well, we have the other add-ons module which will help with the different purposes like documentation, document management we have, safety management we have, dashboards, equipment maintenance. So separate modules already available with the Probius. Let's see how it will work in the real world. You will receive any of the lead via the CRM, or you can get it from the particular company website or government website that you can create as a bid. If it is a bid related project, you can create a bid, or if it is not bid related project, you can directly create the CRM and then from CRM you can create the estimation. Now here I already created one of the bid, tender bid. That is basically we add the main date expiration of the bid date, the proposed cost, as well as the bid submission date, tender details, documents received for this bid, location details, and other information you can enter over there. Once the bid is generated, now here we'll create the estimation. Then the estimation is generated from the bid. Let's create the estimation. The estimation team prepare the estimation detailed with all the material, labor and overhead estimation. Why this required? So system calculates the excavation cost, machinery expenses, fuel consumption, labor charges, transportation, overhead cost, everything will be mapped over here. Then we can get the summary of our total job estimation. So based on our bid, we will create the internal estimation. Now here you can review, we added all the estimation of the product. This we need to be entered. Once the estimation is generated for the labor, material and overhead, then we can go ahead with the next stage. Here we can also add the labor, that is most important and most expensive part of the mining, and then we will add the overheads. Now when we enter all the costing, we can determine the project profitability before we approach for the costing. Once it's done, it will go to the next stage. We'll create the job cost sheets after the estimation. Once this project is confirmed by the client, we can print the estimation, we can submit to the client, or we can use the internal approval purpose. This job estimation, once it is approved, we can go with the next stage. Here we have the draft, estimation sent, confirmed and approved. All stages are already configured. Now once the estimation is done, first we approach to the client, we'll do the land testing. In this case, we have the separate module, lab test and quality validation. Now here we have silica context test. We have the different kind of the job order for the lab testing. Let me show you one of the operations which is related to our project. Here we have the crushing and grinding operations. Let's go ahead with this. We have already under the lab test. Let me go to the lab test. Let's search with the lab test. We have few of the tasks related to the lab test. We'll open our project task which is related to the copper ore grade assay test. For this test, we will enter all the details here and lab information, lab samples, if any samples are collected. For this, we will add here as a lab samples. Product will be selected, sample product, sample collection date, lab analyst and lab mineral cosmetic composition lab. Here we have also the lab test. All the configuration is available here where you can enter your lab test stages, lab control test, lab project stages, template, tags and labs. Under the labs you can enter all the labs if you have the separate labs for the testing purposes. Now we have the material planning. For this test, if any material is required, that can also be entered over here. And once the testing is done, we can create the result with the button click. I already click on the button before that we need to be entered the lab control test results. So here lab test type we need to be select, lab control test will be entered, and minimum and maximum acceptable value can be entered over here. Based on this, we will enter all the details of the lab. I can show you with the lab test results where you can add all the result. Here, lab control test, you can enter this test. Lab control test, here is the test type, what kind of this test. Then if it is geographical, land related, we can add the geochemical analyst. Parameter we can set here. We can enter the unit of measure, minimum acceptable value, maximum acceptable value, estimated test duration, and then formula also we can enter over here. So based on this lab test, we can generate the results. That results can be generated. On the top you can see the smart button. Once it is created, it will be accessed via the smart button. Here we have few of the tests which is already added over here. For this, we have here one of the test result where we can see lab formula calculation which we entered over there. It will be visible here. Expected result, pass criteria, failed criteria. Remark, issue found, if any issue will be found, it will be entered over there, and then the signature of the lab analyst that already we have configured here to add lab analyst signature. Now once the lab result is generated, we can go ahead with the next stage. We have the we can print from here lab test result. Let's print the lab test result. Here is our lab test result which is working nicely. We can add the remarks and all. Now before commercial approval, we already created the lab test approval. This is like the samples can be tested through the laboratory management process, and this includes the density testing or moisture testing and other testing. We can use this module. It is fully functional. With the lab, all the details are available and separate add-ons is there. After the lab testing, there needs to be done the inspection process. So this inspection module we have already available where we can do the inspections. We have the jobs under this. The model is there, job inspections. The inspection help to manage the operational and safety inspections, site inspections, safety checklist and supervisor approvals can all be recorded and monitored digitally. Let's see, we have few of this from our project, heavy equipment pre-start inspection. Here we can add all the details of the inspection, reference number as well as the inspection start date, end date, all details will be added over there. We have the inspection lines, which inspection types are there. This inspection can be done on any stage, on the start of the mining or after the confirmation of the project we can do the inspection. So it totally depends on your requirement. This inspection can be used with the site engineer also, or the different purposes also we can use this inspection module. So under the inspection we also attach the photos once the job is done, or under the inspection all the photos can be attached over there. So this inspection will work with all over throughout your business process. As well we have the result description and other information already entered over there, who approved, who confirmed and when it is processed. We have the approval workflow also there, and we have for the documentation purpose inspection report also there, where we can do the inspection, where we can print the inspection report. Now here already attach all the required photograph, and we can also get the inspector signature, authorized signature, date. So this report is already available for the inspection. Next process is the legal, the compliances, the documentation related to the environmental compliances, waste compliances, and inspection for the compliances, and then building permit compliances. Whatever will suit to you, you can also create directly in the system. Here, what we can do, we can create the inspection result here, like we already created few of this. Let's go through our project, Copper Mine Flux project. Under this, we create some of the legal compliances. These compliances can be added over here. You can add the code also related to the government compliances. You need to be add the permits also. These permits needs to be created in the system. Now when we add a permit, you need to be add, if it is a new, you have to connect with the project, as well as you can add the permit number, permit type, land acquisition permit, drilling permission. Now here the permit issued company, you can also add here that permit issued by. Then we have the created date, issue date, expiration date, and responsible person. Once it is done and saved, we can also see here, this is the draft stage. If it is submitted, we can add the submitted. If it is under review and approved, we can add the approved. Based on this, we can generate the certificate and licenses. Once the permit is generated, we can add here the certificate number which we are following, issued by, who is issuing, start date we can enter there, end date we can enter over there. As well, we can link our permit. Here our permit is already there, 11 number, so we will do this. Now this permit is this certificate is already generated. We can activate this certificate, and also there is the expiration of the certificate is manageable in the system. So here our module helps to manage the mining permits, environmental approvals, waste compliances, government certifications, which system tracks the document expiry and status of the compliances. If it is compliant, we can do. If it is non-compliance, we can change the status. And also our permits are linked over here, which is already there, which is submitted, approved. So all can be managed throughout the system. We have now the next stage. After this all the work, we will go ahead with the quotation. We'll submit the commercial approval for the material. Samples can be tested through the laboratory management. Documentation is done through the legal module. All the process is done. After this, we will go ahead with the next stage, is the commercial proposal to be generated. Let's go ahead. Under the sales module, we have already available the estimation which we created here. So when we go to the estimation, now we can create the quotation based on our estimation. When we click on the create quotation, automatically quotation will be generated with all the lines related to the labor, material and overhead. Here all lines are available there. Now it is depends on your requirement. If you added one of the product related to the creation of the project, you can create the project on confirmation of the sales order by default. Project and task you can link over there through the project template. Else, after the confirmation of the sales or contract, you can go ahead with creation of the project manually. Both options is available in the system. Now here, as soon as I confirm this quotation to sell order, project is generated. The project is generated. After this, the delivery is generated and invoice is generated. Now we need to go with the next stage, execution of the project. So how we will execute this project? Once the project is generated, we need to track all the costing with the plan and actual, material, labor and equipment, as well as the overheads. Let's go ahead with the job cost sheets. We have already here on the estimation, the button is available, create job cost sheets. When I click on the create job cost sheets, new job cost sheets, or you want to create the updated existing job cost sheets. So in this case we will create the new job code sheets. 9 number will apply now. As soon as I create here, it will be generated with all the details, material, labor and overhead, the job cost sheets. Now when you review this job cost sheets, it is available with the details of the actual purchases. This will come from the purchase order, actual booked vendor bills, which is coming with the from the bills, and here is the cost price. Now as soon as I create any of the purchase order, it will be also mapped here on the quantity. All details will be visible here. Once it is confirmed internally, it can be generated from here, confirmed and approved internally by the department, responsible department. Once the job cost sheets is generated, we can go ahead with the next stage, execution of the project for the material requisitions and then our job order. Let's see, for this we can also create a job order, or we can link already created job order. Job order is basically the task. So let's go ahead with our project. If we have already created some of the tasks, we can link here. Here we have already 29 tasks is generated for this project. Go ahead with this. Here we have already on the project, we mentioned after the confirmation of our contract, we can update all the detail on the project. Here we can add the settings. Under the settings we need to be select here the billing, milestone. If it is milestone based, you can also select the milestone based billable project. And one more thing is there, retention. Retention is basically the percentage which you can held during the any of the payment processing. So if the customer who is keep this retention amount for all the stages of the completion of the work during the payment cycle, this amount can be held and can be released after the completion of the work. So if this is the base on the retention, we can also add the retention here as per our contract with the customer. Now here we have the other details. Tender already linked here, which we started. Here the construction site details we can add here, the location and all other details. Any building code will be there. We can also add here the building code related to mining. If any other extra details, we can also add under the description. Now once this project is in progress, we can mark as a in progress. You can also create the different stages of this project. The project is generated. Based on this project, we will execute the task. This task can be allocated to the different department and employees, and then this can be executed. Like we already see one of the tasks, which is laboratory testing of the soil. It is done by the different department. Now the next is the geological survey and mapping, mine design, production planning, then the site clearing. So this all tasks can be assigned to the responsible department. Let's go with the mine design and production planning, one of the tasks. This task is basically related to the execution of the project. For this task completion, we require some of the products. These products are already added over here. Diesel fuel, lubrication oil, drill rods, safety helmets, gloves, all details are mentioned on the task. This done by the responsible person or the site engineer, what they require to execute this task. So for this task, they enter all the details. As soon as they enter and then create the material requisition, for this material, automatically material requisition is generated. Like here, employee is already there, operation time, existing requisition or create a new. We will create a new requisition for this, create a requisition. So with all my material planning, my requisition is generated here. We can review it. Now the person who is executing this task, they will just make the material request. It will be submitted. If it is related to the laboratory testing, they can also add here the lab samples and analysis. If it is not related to the laboratory related, then we can just keep it null. Here we can see automatically the job order is linked over here, the user is linked, and project also linked. We'll see the requisition responsible. We can add the requisition responsible also here. Once it is confirmed, it will go to the department manager. The department manager will approve, review and approve. Once department is approved, it will go to the store manager, who is responsible to review all the available stock. Now here few of the stock is already available and few is required to purchase. So here the store manager or purchase department, they are responsible to change the requisition action. They can create the purchase order, and also they can link with the vendor who is already agreed vendor, or we can say the agreement is done with these vendors. So we can select here the multiple vendor as well. It will generate the RFQ for the multiple vendors. Now here we have for 2, we can add here the vendor. Let's see after this. And for few of the material we have already internally available, so we will release from the internally location. This location details we need to be add here. If it is under the stock location or under the another site, we need to be defined over there. Destination will be our dispatch zone or order processing. We need to be add here the location, destination location here, or the production. Let me just add here. We have already the production. We can add here the production, or we can add here the customer. So it will be the customer location. We have the site location, so we can add here the site location, get 1 or production. Now here the picking time, it will be the delivery, not the manufacturing, so we can just keep as a delivery. Now once it is approved, automatically create picking and PO button is available. As soon as I click here, my internal picking is generated. We can review it here. All the internal picking is there. It will be generated automatically. We can review it. We can add here the other details, like here we have the packaging and all details. You can enter it over there and you can confirm it. Once it is validated, validate it. Once it's done, we can go ahead with the purchase order. Let's go ahead. Confirmation of the purchase order, we can review it here. For the multiple suppliers, it will generate the RFQ for each of the supplier. Whoever is giving us the best price, we will confirm that supplier. Like here I already added. Let's see, here is the okay. Once the vendor details are entered, we can review it here. Job cost sheets, it is linked here. Now we already created one of the job cost sheets for our project 11 number, so we will select here. Here we have the lubricant oil. If it is there, our job cost lines. Let's add here for this the limestone copper ore. I will add the copper ore. Drill rods, if it is there, we can add here the drill rod, or we can add with the iron ore, copper ore and iron ore. Once I make the confirm order and then receive, we can review it here. Receive, validate, this 6. And whenever you receive the supplier vendor bill, you can also upload it in the system and book in the system the supplier vendor bill. Let's go ahead with the PO and we will review our job cost sheets. It will be also reflected on our job cost sheets. So this all cycles are going through we started from the execution of the project. We created one of the job order or task. From the task we created the purchase request. From the purchase request, we already purchase the material and create the purchase order vendor bill. And now when we review our cost sheets, everything will be reflected over there on my job cost sheets. Let's review it here. We added under the iron rod and then the copper ore. So here already it is reflected actual purchases, actual vendor bill. Here is their copper ore entry. So same like this, labor can be also updated accordingly. Like here we have the labors. If for the labors or for the site engineer, the responsible person who is working on the site, he needs to be update over there his working times. So here we can add copper mine flux, task can be assigned here, mine feasibility study, blast hole preparation, the task will be assigned over there and then it will be added under this. These are the timesheets. So for this task all the timesheets can be entered and we can review it here. The cost sheet is 11, so we can also add here the 11 number of cost sheets which needs to be entered on the timesheets. So this can be entered timesheets on the task as well as under the separate menu, timesheet menu, it must be entered. Let me go to the list view, I will show you. Like here we have the copper flex, we can create directly from the available smart button. Here the description, labor work and also cost center can be linked and cost line, skilled labor or general labor, how much time they spent, we can just record for our review purpose, time spent, stop, let me just start and then update. Okay, here already there, let me just add here on the okay. So labor work which I entered here, you can also update it as per your access rights. So if all the laborers they work 80 hours or we can say the 50 hours, you can also add it on the bulk. So that can be possible. As soon as I entered there, you can review it here. The actual hours are already added here. These are reflected here. Now when I go to the HR timesheets, we have the list of timesheets, but we didn't link with the different labor. So here we can also possible to link with the drilling labor, blast drilling. Let me just add here drilling labors and then we can add here the other labors. Crusher operator, and you can see it. When we reviewed the cost sheets, we can see here 15, 7, these are already updated by actual timesheets. With these actual timesheets also updated, now we will see the overheads. Any kind of the overheads, even if it is a subcontractor work, we need to be record in the system this subcontractor work also. Even this is a documentation work or any utilities or so whatever the bill we will create it, purchase order and vendor bill will be reflected over here. Let's take a quick example. If one of the tasks is related to the temporary infrastructure, this task we are provided to the subcontractor. So in this case, what we will do, we will create this task subcontracting job order. Like here we have already few of the job order we created. Let's go to the job order. I will create the, let me go to the next tab. Here we have the jobs and here we have the job orders. Let's go to the job orders. We have the job orders menu as well as we have the separate menu subcontractor job order. I will show you how it will work. For our project related to the copper mine flux, we need to go to this project. Let's go make the project. Here is the project which we created. Now some of the task is related to the subcontracting task. Like here we will take the temporary infrastructure. Let's take one of these tasks. Like we started with the mine design and production planning. Now we need to give this one of the tasks to the subcontractor. So in this case we can make the create subcontractor job. Here we can select the subcontractor. If subcontractor is Global Mining Solution. Let's select this Global Mining Solutions as a subcontractor, as a responsible person, or we can say the subcontractor user. And here is our subcontractor company. Here, join. We will add here temporary infrastructure. We will attach the pictures also, upload all the documents and details, all will be there. And then we can select here the Global Mining Solutions, and here we can add the details, and we can create the subcontractor job order. In this case, when we create the subcontractor job order, we need to be add here. If material is provided by you, you can also make the material planning. This task is generated for the subcontractor. They will review it. They will receive the email from the system. Once the subcontractor will review, we can also create the separate cost sheet for the subcontractor. This feature is also available. Now here, which task we are going to do? We are assigning to the subcontractor. So in this case, we need to update here. Like here, we have one of the tasks, temporary infrastructure. This needs to be go through the cost sheets. Also, we have the cost lines for that. We also link here, and we can add here the quantity one. This needs to be delivered by the subcontractor. So once subcontractor will review this job order, if they are able to do this task, they confirm it and they say, okay, you can release the purchase order. So local PO will be generated in this case. So here we have already option purchase order lines are generated, and from here we can create this subcontractor purchase order. This subcontractor purchase order, if retention is applicable, we can also add here the retention. If customer is also provided the retention condition, then also we can do with the vendor also the same condition will be applied. It is totally depends on your requirement. So if retention is applied, you can also add here the retention percentage. It is coming automatically from the project where we already set. Now here we have all the details there related to the PO, the person who is managing. We received the good pricing from the subcontractor. We entered here. We can see here subcontractor jobs are already attached here. Once it is confirmed, it will be done by the subcontractor. Whenever they deliver this task, we can create or we can receive this one. Like we received only half of the task. Whenever they complete, we can also make the receive tasks, and then it will be updated in the system, create a backup. So this already available. We receive 0.50. Based on this, we can also upload the bill, and then we can also make the different details. Yes, confirm, bill is generated. Done. Let's go to the next one. This is the subcontractor jobs. We can also review this job on our cost sheets. It is reflected here, which is over here under the overhead temporary infrastructure. So here we can see the cost is 100, and here is the actual purchase quantity. We assign here 35, but we did 1, and then the vendor is finished the 0.50. Now if you wish to see the costing also on the job cost sheets, we have the separate module for that, add-ons. If you need the cost price of the purchases and then the vendor bill, so it will be also reflected here. As well on the top you can see all the lines, so it will be more easier for you to review. It is the line wise, all the purchase order line wise, as well as the vendor bill also line wise. So that's it. All details working nicely. Let's go with the execution of the project. The next stage. After the execution of the project, we already make the material requisitions. If it is subcontractor related, they can also do the request on their task for the material purchases. Like here, subcontractor job is there. For this subcontractor job, let's go ahead here. there is the create material requisition. We can make the material planning and create the material requisition from here, as well as we have the separate module available, requisition. We can also create the requisition based on this. Just quickly I will show you. Here we have the requisitions. If they require any of the labor or something, we can also create the requisition from here. This is for the labor, or this is for the any kind of the requisitions will be there. It will be generated here, the requisitions, and we will release this requisition. Now let's go ahead with the next stage. Next stage for this, we have already the mining record creation. One will add our MAP solution. Here mineral engineering process. This screen represents the mineral process, which is central operational workflow of the mining and quarry process. Here we manage the complete extraction, crushing, processing and manufacturing life cycle of mine materials. From the excavation to finished process is approved, system ready, product. Now here we can review it, the MEP process name. We can add here the analytic account, which is more important, project analysis for the fuel cost, labor, machinery, production expenses. This can be traced against the project based on our analytic account. Here we have the finished product. When we review our finished product, we can see we already added some of the raw material under our bill of material. Let's do a quick view check. We have the bill of material where we have all the components are there, operations already there, drilling, blasting, excavation, loading, transportation, all operations are there, safety and administrative. As well, we have the direct material cost. You can also assign on your bill of material, material cost, labor cost and then the overhead cost on your bill of material. Let's see now on our final product how it will be manufactured. Once the MEP record is generated, we can add here the finished product. Template we can also review here, and then we have the bill of material automatically filled when I select the product. Here we have the responsible user and category. This category you can create for the different mining operations. You can create the different category based on your operations. Once it is ready, confirmed, approved, then we can generate the MO, create manufacturing order. Let me click on the create manufacturing order. We can review it here. My manufacturing order is generated for 1 ton of the crushed copper ore. All products are available here. Now here we can see the explosive, water, as well we have the direct material cost, labor cost and manufacturing cost will be fetched from our bill of material, and it will give me all the summary of the costing. Let me just confirm this one. Let me select my project also, copper flux project. See, as soon as I confirm, I can review all direct material, labor cost and manufacturing overhead cost is coming from my bill of material. Here we can review the actuals based on this. We have all the costing here, material, labor and overhead. Now here we will review the actual one later. When we go to the work orders, all work orders are generated based on this, and components are also available here, which we define on our bill of material. Now here it will start our manufacturing process. During the manufacturing process, if any material is required, we can directly create from the material requisition form, which is on the click of the button. Now here this will be shop floor. It is working nicely. All the processes. Activate your work center. We have the assembly. Let's go and we will run one by one all the operations. Here we have the operations. We are already done. Mark as done. So it will go to the next operation. We have the blasting. once it is done, if required any maintenance, any of the details, we can also add here. Modify routing, add complete instruction. These all are available and working fine. Now we can also open the manufacturing order, or we can do the request for maintenance during any of the process. Now this one is also done, we can make the done. Once excavation and loading, this is also available where we can add for the excavation and loading. It will go for the transportation. So we can also, once it is ready, we will load it in the trucks, then we can make the transportation system. We can make the start. Once all our loading is done, we can make the market start. So this all details are, all the process are done. Let's go ahead with our main manufacturing order. When we review the work orders, we can review it here. Once it is done transportation, we have few of the operation which is there that we can do it. Training, safety, all operations and admin, and then we can do the produce all. Here one more thing is there, direct material. We have also the actual quantity here. We have the plant quantity and actual one. So this can be also updated directly from the shop floor. We have the extra add-ons for that if you require to update the actual one. Once all the operations are done, we can mark produce all, and then our manufacturing is done. We can review the costing also here. We have also the total cost which is updated here, average cost of the product already. Once the manufacturing is done, now our customer sales order, it is ready to deliver the services. So let's go ahead with the final stage, which is related to the commercial part. We will review it here, our commercial part. Let's go to the next process, financial phase, where we can go ahead here on our sales. Let's go ahead with our sales order. We already confirmed here. Now we will deliver our quantity which is already manufactured. Let's deliver here the quantity which is ready. We will create here, validate first. We will validate it. Once it is validated, we can now, option is available, create IPC. This is the interim payment certificate. If project is long-term project, we can directly create the IPC. In this case, we will submit the payment certificate to the customer. Once customer is approved, then we release the invoice for that. So here we can create the IPC. The option is available to create the IPC. Once we add the IPC, we can add here the IPC type. Here is the material supply bill, service work bill. We can add here the job order which is related to our mining operations. So here we can add the operations which is related to our design production planning. We can enter the site engineer who is available, the responsible person, retention amount automatically coming over here. This is our 5% retention we assign over there, and here we will make all the details. The new IPC quantity, if we delivered already 50, is the certified quantity. We can add here the delivered quantity. Electric charges we can add here. This is just the one of the sample example. Once it is done, the IPC quantity is exceeded the corresponding sell order quantities. So in this case, it is exceeding sell quantity, and IPC quantity is 45 because it is already generated previously one of the invoice for that. So here we need to be corrected. It must not be exceed to your IPC available on your IPC. Once the IPC is generated, we can add the approver over here. Who is the approver? Like admin, we can add here the approver. We can add the tags also. If any advance we already received, in this case we can select here the advance deduction. we need to be deduct the advance amount from this IPC, so we can add here the advance recovery product. Once it's done, the IPC is ready, then we can also go with the signature, manager signature, site engineer signature, and then it will go with the customer signature after that. So all are available via the portal. We have the portal for the customer portal as well as portal for the subcontractor. So here manager can be also signed and accepted. Okay, this is the accepted, this work is done, the responsible person. Once it's done, the site engineer also done, the contractor signature will be added over there, and then the approver signature also added on our submitted. Then we can change the submitted. Once it is verified, it can be verified, and we have also the IPC report available for the print, and then we can submit this report in the documentation purpose. Nicely it will be generated on the BOQ lines are there. If any job order is linked over there, we need to be linked the job order as well as the approval signatures also available. We can review quickly here. We have on the line job order, so we can also link each of the job order on each of the line which is related to our task or work is done, and then we can print and we can submit. Once it is verified and approved, as soon as it is approved by the customer, then we can create the customer invoice. When I click on the customer invoice, I can create the customer invoice in the system. We can also review it here. All the analytic accounts are there already mapped. The account, one more thing is there, PDF. You can also print this PDF and then you can submit for the payment to the customer. We submitted created invoice to the customer. Customer can also review via the portal. As I mentioned, we have the customer portal where we can also give the customer the portal access. Once it is provided the portal access, grant portal access, customer can access the portal. Let's go ahead with the customer portal. We have already the customer portal here. I already logged in with the other customer portal. Here we can see as soon as we issue the invoice, it will also come in here as a pay now. Customer can see that all the IPC which is submitted for the review or submitted the work also there. Also customer, if the same IPC we are using for the vendor, so vendor or subcontractor, they can create the IPC from the system. They can submit their IPC. This is also available, these features for the subcontractor can create their IPC and submit in the system. Now here we can see this is already approved and verified all the IPC. Just now I created this one IPC, so we can also review it here. If customer is cancelled, they can also mark it cancelled, and they can also make we can also make this submit the IPC. If it is submitted, it will be submitted, and customer also mark the signature and accept it. And here we have also the signature is available. Okay, so this IPC solution is already available for the vendor also. Vendor, they can also create their IPC, they can submit their BOQ. This is very nicely done. Very nicely it is done. All the IPC can be submitted via the portal, and then save and submit. Their work is done. Subcontractor then request for the payment, and then customer can also review their IPC which we already created and submitted, as well as the job estimation is also available. They can review it. This is also available here. And now we have all the timesheets they can review. If we filled and we give the access, then only customer can review. One more thing is there, during this execution, if any change order is arise, if any changes come, pricing will be updated throughout the execution of the project, or something will be happen, we can also create the change order. Let's go. We will see how it will work. We have already here the project. Let's go to our project. We have the project copper mine flux project. From this project, let me open the project. If any change order is arise, we can also create the change order. We have also the option here, change orders. Here, when I click the change order, it will be open the change order. You can also, let me just review this one. This is already done. Let's duplicate. We'll review. We can add here if any of the pricing is done or something is there, we can add here, or we require more labor. So in this case also we can add all the details, and then we can add the change order request. This change order we need to be add the guarantor 1, guarantor 2, other details will be filled over there, for which task we are asking for this change. So we need to be select here the job order. Once it is approved, then we have to wait for the customer approval. In this case, customer can also review this change order on their portal. Just now we created this. Customer can also sign and accept via the portal, like here. Customer can draw and then accept. This signature is already saved on the backend system. Under the customer signature, we can review it here, like customer is already approved. So manually we can mark it customer approved, it's approved, done, and then we create a separate quotation for that, because this is the separately quoted to the customer top of our final contract, and then we can also approve it. As well, we have under the IPC, we already created some of the retentions, entries and everything. Now once the project is done, from the accounting department, they can also review all the details here. Let me go to the invoicing module, retention entries, which can be reviewed and which we can also ask for the release the retention under the vendor as well as under the customer. If it is related to the customer retention, we can review it here. We can mark it all once we receive, and we can create the invoice bill for all the retentions. Same things we can do it for the vendor retention entries. So this is also nicely managed retention flow in the system, IPC and retention, and we can create the invoice and we can submit for the payment request to the customer in this case. Okay, so this is working very nicely. Let's go to the portal. From the portal, we have already pay now button is there. They can review their orders, and if it is portally related to the subcontractor portal, so they can also review their subcontractor job orders here. So like here, one of the subcontractor job orders is there. This is also, they can print it for the documentation purpose, sign and accept it. So all details are already manageable from, we can do it from here. Pay now. Once it is done, here is the pay now button is available for the customer to pay. So we will receive the payment. Now finally, let's review our project dashboard. When we go to the dashboard, we can review it here, all the timesheets, purchase orders, vendor bills, as well as our revenues. So here we can review our profitability. We have all the tasks is there, timesheets are there, sales order items, invoices, all are there over on our dashboard. So this is working very nicely with the enterprise version as well as the community version. If you have any query or you require the live demo, we are available from use.com email ID, as well as you can contact from our website. Thank you very much.